from Southern Maryland's weather leader. This is a JB Weather Alert.
Hello and good morning. That is where we are. Good morning. I'm forecaster John Bordash with you in the JB Weather Center this morning. We are currently sitting about 6:06 this morning, and I can try to get you a version of radar that also shows the time so that we know what we are looking at. Let's bring you on over. There we go. It is about 6:06 this morning. And we are continuing to track this winter storm. We've been up at it since about 3 this morning, looking at all the latest data. So going 3 hours strong. And if you can hear me, let me know that you are able to do so. And if everything is coming through good on your side of things, let me know before I get too ahead of myself. I'm also interested in knowing where are you watching from? Where are you joining this morning? Again, it's in about 6:07, or as my students like to say, 6-7. Just checking things on my phone to make sure we are all good to go. But very active morning across the region. We have widespread snow across the region. We are also looking at a bit of sleet beginning to work in for southern zones, denoted there by that purple shading. You can see that already starting to get down to portions of southern St. Mary's County. Let me actually take you over to our sensitive version of radar. There we go. Again, radar's picking up maybe St. Inigo, Scotland, and portions of the northern neck hog on down towards Calico, Lancaster, Farnham, Heathsville, down towards Kilmarnock. You are looking at that sleet right now. You've been looking at the snow for a little bit, but you're starting to transition now. We're also getting some reports in of snow across the region. Fredericksburg currently reporting upwards of 3 inches of snow. Looking about 3.5 on over towards Dale City. So far, it looks like Alexandria, 3 inches of snow on up towards Montgomery County, 3.1. Frederick, Maryland this morning, looking at about 3.5. Martinsburg sitting about 3 inches of snow. So we are looking at a decent bit on up towards Harrisburg, up towards my neck of the woods, an inch up there. So snow has definitely overspread the region this morning, and we are going to continue to see this be the case here over the next little bit. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I do want to get you over to the latest run of Cedar Point Federal Credit Union Future View that did come in about 4 o'clock this morning to give you an idea of what we're going to be tracking here. And our model here doing a pretty good job showing snow widespread, pockets of that heavy snow really picking up here as we head over the next few hours. And really, you're going to see your heaviest snow probably about the hour or two before you switch over to that sleet. You can see our model here shows exactly that. A little bit slower with that transition to sleet, but we do note that we already have some southern zones beginning to mix in with sleet. But our model here by about 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, mid to late morning, showing where you have that sleet already progressing up to the north. And we see sleet become widespread after about lunchtime or so. We're looking at pockets of rain to develop down towards the lower eastern shore. We'll see how far west that actually is able to come. We know that this morning it's currently 19 degrees down in Leonardtown. So it's cold. It'll take, if we're going to be seeing rain in southern Maryland, we have a long way to go before our temperatures are warm enough to support rain and not freezing rain. So we'll see if this is truly a purely rain event. Our future view model has been trying to suggest rain. I've been skeptical, and only time will tell now at this point, but if we see that occur, it'll be this afternoon. But snow and sleet impacts across the region. While JB Weather started off as a Southern Maryland weather business, we now really do cover the entire Mid-Atlantic. So think big picture here. Many of our areas still sleet, freezing rain there shown by that pink, and even snow for our northern communities up towards Chambersburg, York, and Harrisburg. Precip continues, and then I think really it's going to quickly shut off. You can kind of see how it almost evaporates there by about 10, 11 o'clock tonight. So that is kind of the big picture of what we're looking at. I want to bring you over to the impact forecast as well. This answers a lot of the questions of JB, when is this going to happen, or how bad will things be? This is really focused southeast of I-95 this morning, and kind of going through the afternoon, evening hours. Still looking at this initial thump of snow right here about 6 o'clock. We were saying that we were expecting to see moderate to high impacts, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Actually, I want to take you on over to one of our traffic cameras, and I want to see if this is going to work. It works when I want it to sometimes, so we will hopefully let's bring y'all over here. Let's get this live look going into, there we go. This is a look down in California, Maryland this morning. You can see that snow has already fallen. We have accumulations, and even where you can get some of those, looking at the snow right there because of that, the lights, you can see where, I mean, it's coming down at a pretty good clip. We have accumulation on roadways. Earlier, I saw a snowplow roll through here as we're preparing for the broadcast. Only a few people out traveling this morning, which is good to see. And this is a look at 3 Notch Road at Route 4, St. Andrews Church Road. Let's take a look. Let's head down towards Chancellor's Run. Here we go. You can see where we do currently have snow accumulating there on the roadway as well. I want to take a look over towards Leonardtown, getting over there towards MedStar, and there talking snow plows. There you go. Now, this might not be the most exciting shot, but this does show you that we do have snowfall accumulation there on Route 5 at 243. I don't know if our Thomas Johnson Bridge camera will show us much. It gives us a general view. I mean, you can see just like the overall gray and whiteness of the screen, showing that snow is coming down at a pretty good clip across the region, and we are looking at those accumulations. Let's take a look a little bit further north. Let's head up towards Brandywine. Followers up there tuning in. Definitely not the best quality camera here at 301 and 5, but you can see snowfall accumulation there on the road as well. So we can get a better quality camera here. This is a pretty high resolution. You can see where we have that snow sitting there on roadways and on those medians as well. Let's continue our tour. Let's head a little further towards the DC Metro, head up towards the Woodmore area at Lots Ford Vista Road. Definitely a winter scene this morning, and it really does spell the story of what we're talking about. Again, widespread snow, widespread sleet down to the south, and this will continue to shift here to the north. I'm going to get you on over to, let's bring you over to, here we go. Taking a look at what we got going on. You can see these snowfall reports coming in 3 to 3.5 inches. Generally, you are beginning to see that sleet line, though, really starting to kind of line up. Something like this, areas to the south of that is indeed where that sleet is falling. And you're seeing snow north of there. Maybe you're getting in potentially on a little bit more in the way of moderate to heavy snow focused right through this region. I also do suspect, though, that this could be potentially mixing with a little bit of sleet, especially across southern Maryland. But, I mean, radar returns do suggest, I mean, you can see a nice little band setting up here, see another nice little band setting up here, right? So we're seeing the snow, sleet, and freezing rain kind of region-wide this morning. Getting you back on over, though. Generally, through about 3 o'clock, this is what snowfall reports we're looking at. I want to see if I can get you an update on what current snowfall estimates look like, because this, at this point, is several hours old. Let's get let's bring you back on over here. General look at snowfall amounts thus far and what has fallen. Now we're using some of our high resolution modeling to kind of estimate some of this, but you can see, I mean, where you have these blue colors, I mean, this generally through here would be your like 2 to 4 inches plus that's already fallen. The purple would suggest over 6. I'm not sure Culpeper has seen that just yet, but where you have these lighter blue colors, this is where you're talking a general 1 to 3 inches plus that's already fallen for the day. But this was a look earlier today at what we were looking at in terms of snow totals. Again, we will continue to update that graphic. One thing I actually do want to show you quick, and again, this is from the from my prior recorded forecast, but there is some benefit in showing you this. This is a look at our correlation coefficient product from the radar. We use this a lot in the summertime to figure out when we have tornado warnings, where are we looking at debris, where do we have confirmed tornadoes. In the wintertime, this can help us out as well. This can show us where we're looking at sleet already building to the north. And what you will note is generally areas where you get those, I can get a little bit more. You can see generally we are looking at that sleet line, looking, or at least trying to look a little bit like this. I would suggest that you're looking at more consistent sleet south of that secondary line. So let's kind of redo that here for you so it makes sense. I think, You transition from snow over to more of a snow sleet mix south of the blue line, but it really is south of the black line. I would suspect is where you are looking at predominantly sleet. So this is beginning to move to the north. It kind of fits with our timing that we were looking at earlier today. And we will continue to track all of this as it all pushes here to the north. General timing, I mean, over the next hour or two for our southern communities, Fredericksburg, Leonardtown, Tappahannock, kind of maybe running half an hour to an hour ahead of these times, but generally still kind of on it. Between 8 and 10 o'clock south of DC, but north of Leonardtown and Fredericksburg, so through much of areas north of St. Leonard, areas north of, let's say, Mechanicsville, and north of Cobb Island. That's where you'll be transitioning at about 8 to 10 o'clock. Closer to the lunch hour along I-95, and then after lunch to the north of there. Generally, when we look at snow totals, I'm not really concerned about the forecast thus far because a lot of the snow aspect has already been realized at the base amount. Let me bring it over here quickly. This was the final call snowfall forecast, about at least 3 inches in southern Maryland, 4 inches closer to I-95, and we're already seeing 3 to 3.5 inch reports. So, I mean, if you were expecting 17 inches of snow going into this, then the forecast will, of course, be busting there. But based on the JB weather forecast, which I will say has been rather consistent the last 3 days, many of us have already seen this much snow across the region. And we are beginning to transition over to that sleet. And I think we could be looking at between half an inch to an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches of sleet across the region. I do want to take you back on over to live William Richmond Inc. radar as we begin to get some new followers waking up, want to know what's going on. JB, this is what's happening outside my door. What say you? This is a general look here at about 6:18. We can see that we have snow pretty much region wide, but that dreaded purple here representing sleet already beginning to work to the north. And if I put radar in motion here over the last couple hours, you can see how that sleet line has really been trying to jump here to the north. And what we are watching very closely, and I know that when I turn my head like this, I can sometimes not get the best audio, so my apologies. But what we were talking about with that correlation coefficient, it's these areas here where you begin to get that, these yellows that can represent some dissimilar items. This is where that sleet line probably is. Probably looking something kind of like this right now, given these radar returns. Still mixing with some snow, and then I think you're literally looking at all sleet once you get to about that region. So this up here is all snow, so an S plus. This is where you're looking at S plus / ice pellets, so an IP, and then purely sleet or just IP down to the south. And my apologies that the software likes to do waves instead of just a solid color when I write. But this is just a general look. Let's see, looking at this, Stephen, I'm happy to hear you have 3 inches of snow on the ground. I would prefer cleaner language, though. I genuinely, and maybe it's because I work in the public sector, both as a forecaster and as a teacher, I could not imagine using my Facebook account saying inappropriate language like that. But I guess if things don't really matter to you that much, you are more than welcome to do that. And yet, Therese saying got snow mixing back in with La Plata again. It's going to be this back and forth action over the next hour or two. We will and again, this is a slow. Let me get you back here to our snow sleet mix times. It is going to be a gradual transition. It's not like you're going to go like this and immediately be done with snow and go to sleet. I think you start with snow. It'll be that snow sleet mix before you get to sleet, and then sleet will eventually go over to that freezing rain. Beth is saying lots of sleet in Leslie. That kind of matches up with what we're looking at. Sleet estimate matches up with what you're seeing down in Drayton. Appears laying ice melt was used this yesterday evening. And yeah, typically ice melt doesn't really work until you get closer to 32 and you can get that solar radiation. You really want to use that ice melt once you've shoveled, if it's like late morning. Steven, sleet mixing in with snow in Hollywood. That really kind of matches up with what we are tracking this morning. I want to see if I can't just take us back over to some of our traffic cameras, get a live look at some of the stuff that we are tracking here this morning. Let's get you back on over to traffic cameras, and I want to take you back down. It really seems like our California cameras have been some of the best. Here you go. Taking a look at, this is California at 2:35 and 4. We can see, I mean, snow is continuing across the region. From YouTube, can you explain cold air damming? 100% I can. That is the quickest way to my heart, is to explain things like that. I love when people ask. Let's get over to radar real quick. And I can just show you generally what we're looking at. Let's get some of these layers back on. So when we are looking at cold air damming, what has generally occurred? You have your area of low pressure here sitting just off the coast right now. That's kind of where we've popped that low. And as we've been talking about all week, you have an area of high pressure here to the north. I don't think you can really see the high pressure though, because of the way that, there we go. So you have an area of high pressure up here to the north, and it is driving down. There we go. It is driving down cold air in a fashion like that. What we will see begin to occur as that southern flow of cold air happens is, and let's get local storm reports off. What you will see, I mean, we know we have mountains that sit right through here. What cold air damming is that cold air continuing to move to the south and getting piled up against the mountains. And cold air is heavy. It will sink. So you will get this cold air. But right now we have a low pressure system sitting off the coast that's throwing back warm air off the ocean. I'm going to say warm, relatively speaking. So that warm air will overrun that cold air damming. And it really is kind of like the cold air is dammed up against the mountains. And that's what can allow for that sleet and freezing rain to occur, because you're getting warm air on top of cold air. Let's see what else we got going on via questions. Let's get some radar back on here, model overlay and MEDAR. There we go. See what we got. Let's get some local storm reports. We're getting a couple, what is this, 5-inch reports now coming out of Centerville. 3.5 inches, definitely a common number. New 3-inch report out of Fredericksburg. 3.5 down towards Roanoke, and you can see where that sleet currently is sitting. Actually, you say not much snow in Great Mills. However, we just looked at a Great Mills traffic camera that said that. That said that you do at least have a bit of snow. Now, when you say not much, I mean, we're looking at about 3 inches of snow down that way. That is very much within our forecasted range, right? Like, through much of this event, Great Mills has been in that 3 to 6 inch range. So, while not as much as we may have been hoping for, kind of still falling into what we have forecasted. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate the kind comments. I try my best to be accurate, but I guess accuracy is in the eyes of the beholder. Rachel, thank you. Yeah, frequent updates, and these updates will continue throughout the day. This is kind of what this isn't the only reason I forecast the weather for these big events, but it definitely makes it worth it. How long is it going to take St. Mary's to call schools tomorrow? Casey, Joe, that will happen at about 5 a.m. tomorrow. We know that. And is reporting sleet and freezing rain in Leonardtown for a while now. Let's go ahead and take a look at, yeah, that would make sense here with what we got going on. I don't know if, yeah, correlation coefficient, yeah, and that shows up real clearly here, where we have these yellows here that represents dissimilar items, sleet, snow mix, and yeah, that is working north. That's now kind of encroaching upon Lusby, Brooms Island, Mechanicsville, Charlotte Hall, on over towards Belle Alton, La Plata, even getting in on some of that. It looks like Occoquan, Manassas, definitely beginning to move north and then back towards Luray, Culpeper, and then well south, Charlottesville, Richmond. You've been looking at sleet for a while now. All sleet in Great Mills since before 6. Yeah, Jenny, that definitely matches up here. If we put this in motion, this would be what radar was saying was happening. Oh, I'm losing my timestamps here. This was roughly about 5 o'clock this morning, and you can see kind of where Great Mills is right through here, south of Lexington Park, north of St. Mary City, kind of right there in line for that. We're not getting the 6. Unfortunately, Mike, yeah, we are not looking at 60 million inches of snow. An inch region, the sleet has started. Christy, I would be very interested with that because, and I would like to know if that 1 inch report is common because just given what we are seeing, I mean, you have 1.5 inches as far south as Richmond. I would tend to believe Ridge might be sitting more at about 2 to 3 inches at the very least. I mean, you have 3 inches in Fredericksburg, 3 inches in Charlottesville. It's already started to mix over, but I could always be wrong. Still also in Owings, and yep, up here in Owings, north of Prince Frederick, you're going to stay snow a little bit longer than those southern areas. 2.5 to 3 inches in Golden Beach definitely kind of matches up. When is the snow going to go to sleet in Waldorf? Let me get you back over to graphics. And this is a general look at those snow sleet transition times. This might be an hour too slow though, from what is shown here from what is actually happening as we see things and adjust in real time. So probably if we adjust this by an hour, over the next half hour to 2 hours. So, let's just call it the next hour and a half is when you can start to see that transition in Waldorf. Hearing sleet in Leonardtown makes sense, Tammy. So waiting for the freezing rain to come, Mike. That is definitely still the case. Taking a look at future view, you can see that it has snow to start, and it's a bit slow with that transition. That sleet will be moving in eventually, and then we will see that transition gradually over to sleet. Future view continues to suggest pure rain. I don't know if I buy that, given that the current temperature at Pax River is 19. It is 18 in Leonardtown. I tend to think that will be more freezing rain, especially given that surfaces are still cold. But what do I know? How can you connect to Facebook Live? Dallas wants to know. I think you would just log into Facebook and find JB Weather over there. In Dallas, I'm not talking next week's storm potential because, images have already begun to get shared. You know what? How about I can show you what the latest modeling is showing, and I will show you how volatile this is. And this is why I don't like these hypecasters having access to weather models, because there's one fluke run and people go, they lose their ever-loving minds. This would be a look at the American model just quickly. You can see it has today's storm moving through, heading out. It has a chance of flurries Thursday. That's kind of what we were talking about. But, I haven't seen the 6Z American. So, let's take back to the 0Z because I need to dissect that a little bit more. But what you can see here, as we allow this to slowly load, there we go. Takes the system out, but that system for the weekend isn't really even it shows up. There it is, Saturday. Look how far off the coast it is and how inconsequential it is for the East Coast. You don't got much going on at all. So we will talk about the weekend when we get there. I'm really not too concerned about it. And as I don't know, this is the first, not that this is a huge storm, but this is one of the first bigger storms since, the AI revolution has kind of taken hold. And, geez, anybody's allowed to post on the internet, which makes my job a little bit harder. Anyway. Let's see what we got going on. Christy, I just looked again. It is maybe 1.25 inches sleeting now. I live right on the creek, which never froze, so maybe it's... Christy, definitely some maybe local dynamics at play there. 17 for Eric, up there in Prince Frederick. And Eric, I appreciate your live reports. He tweets them to me in the mornings, and it is really helpful informing my forecast. Here is St. Leonard off of Island Creek and Pax River. We have a mix of snow and sleet. How are my goldfish crackers holding up? Well, the box is open. Now, this got opened yesterday, and the box sits about this full still. So, put a little dent in it, but, got to pace ourselves. This morning, we have opted for an actual breakfast of eggs. There was turkey sausage on here at one point, as well as coffee. So, we got to start off on a good base first. Yeah, Lenore, you know me, and maybe I'm a little too sarcastic for my own good, but genuinely, what do I know? People, I will say there's a very specific type of person who comes online and spews trash my way, and it tends to be men who struggled with science class in high school, but maybe I'm saying the quiet part out loud. Bring on the rain. I don't care that we say. Honestly, I get that, the rain. Also, if I genuinely got paid from gas people and grocery store big food, as some might say, to forecast crazy weather, I would do so a lot more often because I would love to have more money than I do. But yeah, this is just a nice general look at kind of where things sit right now. We can see we have, and if we put radar in motion here, you can see it's going to render here, so sorry for the jumpiness. But once we get a completed image here, you can see how we have that sleet line ever so slowly creeping to the north, now encroaching on the Tappahannock area, Charlottesville, as we've been talking about. And you can see where we have those bands of maybe, more consistent snow, heavier snow coming through. Yes, Mike, the Earth is flat and the sun is alive. That is very on brand. Robert's saying all sleet in Leonardtown. Now I'm going to take a look quickly at correlation coefficient to see what it is showing. So I need like more screens than I have, which is crazy to say. Let's take current look at radar. Yep, this shows our sleet line has now traversed so far to the north. This is where you are beginning to see sleet. So Prince Frederick is knocking on your door. So let's redo this a little bit. Your pure snow line sits something like this. And then where you start to get in on sleet, it really right now kind of looks like something like this. So if we were to kind of annotate this a little bit to make it make sense, you were looking all snow up there. This is snow plus sleet. And down here would be all sleet. Keep in mind, temperatures right now are sitting at 19 degrees at Pax River, 18 in Leonardtown. Those are some of the warmest readings of the region. For those thinking that this is going to be rain and no ice, we have a long way to go before surface temperatures will ever support rain. We would need to jump from 19 to 33 degrees rather quickly, and even at that point, elevated surfaces are still going to be below freezing. So, it'll be a hot minute. It will definitely be a hot minute before we see a switch over to snow, to rain. What I want to do actually, let's clear this off. I'm done with that. Let's get you back over to, we don't want to zoom in too much. Let's get back over to typical radar and get the national radar on the background, and we can animate this through as I answer some questions, and we can see kind of what is going on. All right. How many inches does Waldorf have? I don't have a tape measure, Carlos. That is fair. General reports right now would suggest, if we were to pause this and take a look at some of the reports we got coming in, 3.5 inches across the Potomac from you. But if we take this back a little bit, 1.2 at 5 this morning, and then you reports around you right now of up to 3. So 1 to 3 inches out there, it looks like. We want to know about how on earth is it sleeting when it is this warm. It's funny, I just took this graphic out of the show. I want to see if I can find it to add it back in, but I will show you this in the meantime. Our donut analogy of just the difference between sleet and freezing rain. Both will accumulate as ice, but in different ways. Oh, that went away. My apologies. But now I should be able to show you. There we go. Winter precipitation. The part of the atmosphere that is responsible for what we see here weather-wise is about 11 miles high up into the air. But we're really interested in like the lower 20,000 feet of the atmosphere. When the entire column, so from where we live to about 20,000 feet up, when that entire column sits below freezing, that's when you're looking at snow. When all of that is above freezing, then you melt that initial snowflake 20,000 feet up into a raindrop, and it stays a raindrop the whole time. You look at sleet and freezing rain when, it's cold here at the surface. It could be 19 degrees, but we're starting to see some warm air moving at about 10 to 15,000 feet above our heads. The atmosphere is not a monolith. It is highly variable. It's a fluid. So about 10 to 15,000 feet up, you get temperatures above 32, and that takes that initial snowflake that falls and it melts into a raindrop. But then you have a pretty decent cold layer, and that refreezes it. So just because we're at 19 here does not mean it is necessarily going to be all snow. What that does mean, though, is that we will be looking at the potential for sleet. So I hope that makes sense. Also, in Lesby, good morning from Valley Lea. Hello, Paula. About 2 inches of powder here in Hollywood with ice on the way. Should we shovel the powder now or leave it? Rick, that really is a personal preference. I probably would leave it, knowing that I have snow. I have the snow going over to ice, and I don't want that ice layer. Granted, doing that will make the snow a little heavier to shovel than it would be right now, so it's kind of pick your poison. Light snow to shovel now, but you get an ice layer at the bottom then, or wait until the ice is up top, but then it's a little heavier to shovel. And 3 inches in Wildwood with ice falling. So that is a nice overview. I'm sure we'll get another one of these done probably around 8 a.m. when more people are awake. And I am maybe going to try to get some lesson plans done for tomorrow because I think we have a virtual day on tap, probably, which means I need to get my lesson integrated over to virtual learning for my students. And what's been nice is I think they're all still asleep right now, so they have not been spamming the YouTube chat as they have the last couple of days. And Michelle, I'm happy you follow me as well. Oh, yeah, the numbers this week, I mean, it gets worse the more that people have access to data. I mean, people say that weather forecasts aren't as good as they used to be, and that's numerically false. They are much better than they used to be. I mean, when I was a kid, I vividly remember it was like, 2003, and Bob Ryan on Channel 4 could only put like actual numbers on a forecast for 4 days out. After 4 days, it just said 30s or 20s, but like it would say like 27 degrees within 4 days. So we're able to do that now for a 10-day period. The issue though is that meteorologists have to parse through a whole bunch of data to get to those numbers, and individual data points or model runs get shared as if they are gospel, and they are not. But I'm off my soapbox. I will continue to post updates throughout the day, both as live streams here. We have a recorded video forecast. If you head over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or even the website, you click on that forecast tab, and I can show you that here quickly, because I'm not sure that a lot of people know that, like, even if you're not on Facebook, you can still follow JB Weather. Now, I have it bookmarked, but that's me. As you head on over to JB Weather, you can click on our morning update. This was published at about 4 a.m. this morning. It gets you all the graphics I just showed you. And then if you click over to forecast, you'll be able to see the 4:30 update from this morning that I posted, where I kind of talked through all that as well. And the 7-day forecast that is looking quite cold. So stay tuned. Updates all throughout the day on all of our platforms. I'll be back live with you here in about an hour and a half, 2 hours to give an update. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments and we'll try our best to answer them. But in the meantime, I'm forecaster John Bordash. Thank you for joining me this morning, and we will continue to keep you one step ahead of this winter storm.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.